Here are the top stories for today, September 20, 2021. The Education Department is all set for the pilot implementation of limited face-to-face classes in the country. What are the guidelines? The Philippines is on its way to achieving population protection with the arrival of over 6 million vaccines. PCOO Secretary Martin Andanar said President Duterte is open to any investigations. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. President Rodrigo Duterte has already approved the pilot implementation of limited face-to-face classes in the country. Education Secretary Leonor Briones said it will be implemented in 100 public schools and 20 private schools in areas under minimal risk category. Briones stressed that this limited face-to-face classes is the responsibility of the Department of Education, Department of Health, involved local government units, and the parents. She also said that the President has issued strict guidelines.
Kailangan, numero uno, papasa sa safety assessment ng Department of Education ang lugar kung saan tayo mag-hold ng face-to-face classes. Pangalawa, kailangan pumayag ang local governments dahil sila ang mag-host ng mga pilot classes na ito. Pangatlo, kailangan may written consent ng mga parents na papayag sila na yung kanilang anak ay sasali sa pilot classes. Pang-apat, ang sinabi namin, ang facilities ng Department of Education kailangang handa para sa requirements of the IATF and the Department of Health para magkaroon tayo ng social distancing, sapat na tubig, gamot, close location to health units, etc. So itong lahat ay kino-consider natin. So very strict ang health standards natin.
The pilot implementation of the face-to-face classes will only be done every other week on a half-day basis. Briones also said that implementation will start within 2 months. More than 6 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines will soon reach the different areas in the country with the arrival of the different brands of jabs over the weekend. 190,000 doses of Sputnik V's component 2 vaccines were delivered last Saturday. The jabs are intended as a second dose for those who have already received the first dose or component 1 of the Russian vaccine. These will be distributed in Metro Manila, Bohol, Isabela, Bacoor, and some other areas in Central Luzon and Calabarzon. Vaccine Czar Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr. said the government is working on the possible acquisition of more supplies of the single-dose Sputnik V Light COVID-19 vaccine. Also last Saturday, 961,000 doses of Moderna vaccine were delivered. Of this number, 712,800 doses were procured by the Philippine government. The remaining doses were acquired by the private sector. Meanwhile, the government-procured Sinovac vaccines arrived yesterday at around 6 in the evening. Galvez said the majority of the 3 million doses of the Sinovac vaccines will be distributed in Central Luzon, Calabarzon, Central Visayas, and the Davao region. The National Capital Region will also receive a portion which will be used as a second dose. Meanwhile, the 2 million doses of Pfizer-BioNTech vaccines arrived past midnight on the same day. Galvez, together with officers of the U.S. Embassy and the WHO, welcomed the arrival of the said jabs. The almost 6.2 million COVID-19 vaccines are expected to fast-track the inoculation program of the government as it targets to achieve population protection by the end of the year. The Philippines has so far administered over 41 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines nationwide. Presidential Advisor for Entrepreneurship and Go Negosyo founder Joey Concepcion clarifies that the proposed bakuna bubble concept has different component bubbles such as the family bubble, the business bubble, and the emerging transport bubble.
Kasi sa component ng bakuna bubble, dalawa yan eh. May family bubble and may business bubble. Ang nangyayari ngayon, yung mga pamilya ang tinatamaan ngayon eh. Kasi alam naman natin yung our vaccines are not anymore preventing Delta from infecting even the vaccinated. So the family bubble has to not only rely on the vaccine, but they have to have health protocols. Dito sa private sector, halos umaabot ng 90 to 100% fully vaccinated na ang mga empleyado natin sa private sector dahil sa business bubble.
Concepcion also stressed the importance of getting vaccinated, noting that majority of those who are hospitalized due to COVID-19 are unvaccinated. This as the World Health Organization earlier expressed concern that the bakuna bubble may cause the further spread of COVID-19 virus.
Maski tumataas yung kaso at 10,000, 20,000 cases daily, dapat we shouldn't get scared kasi kung bakunado lahat yan, hindi yan pupunta sa hospital. May konting porsyento ang pupunta sa hospital. At tuloy ang negosyo, tuloy rin ang pagbukas ng economy, and then we do it safely.
Police investigators are in the process of identifying those who attended the rally opposing the vaccination program of the national government. This after members of the group Gising Maharlika recently held a protest action with most of them not wearing face masks at the Liwasang Bonifacio in Manila. Interior Secretary Eduardo Año said charges will be filed against the identified rallies for violating the health protocols. Meanwhile, PNP Chief General Guillermo Eleazar said some anti-vaccine individuals that while he respects the belief of some Filipinos who still say there is no COVID-19, they should also learn to respect the belief of the majority of Filipinos, including those who have family members who died and become infected with the disease. He said the PNP will strictly monitor if there will be protest actions by anti-vaxxers that would violate the minimum public health standards. The Philippine National Police has offered its camps and other facilities as vaccination sites for minors who are dependents of its uniformed and civilian personnel. PNP Chief General Guillermo Eleazar said this will be in preparation for the expansion of the government's vaccination program for minors. Eleazar said using police camps and other facilities, at least for children and other dependents of the PNP personnel, would help decongest the vaccination sites of the local government units once the vaccination for the 12 to 17 years old population starts. The national government is currently preparing for the vaccination of the 12 to 17 years old Filipinos as more and more vaccines arrive in the country. 10 more days before voter registration ends. But the Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, says it has yet to discuss the call of senators to extend the deadline. Commissioner Rowena Guanzon said the poll body is inclined to maintaining the September 30, 2021 deadline. Senators earlier adopted a resolution urging the COMELEC to extend the deadline for voter registration until the end of October. Some groups are also urging the COMELEC and the lawmakers to extend the registration period for at least a month, but the COMELEC thumbed down such proposals, saying it would affect preparations for the May 2022 polls. Still to come, PCOO Secretary Martin Andanar said President Duterte is open to any investigations and expects seamless transfer of commuters as the DOTR identified the 6 stations of the PNR Clark Phase 2. Details ahead, keep it here on the PNA Newsroom. The COVID-19 pandemic has greatly changed our lives for the worse. Lives and jobs were lost and economies reached a meltdown. Thanks to the arrival of safe and effective vaccines, we are one step closer to normalcy. It's time to do our part, get vaccinated for our safety and for our recovery.
You are there in that community, go there and have yourself vaccinated by any of the vaccines available. They are all potent, they are all effective.
I would like to appeal to all our kababayans, please get vaccinated against COVID-19 and be the government partner in preventing further spread of the disease. I encourage you to get vaccinated as soon as possible time. These vaccines are safe and they are the key to reopening our society. The need for international solidarity and cooperation cannot be made clearer than this pandemic because everyone is safe. No one is safe globally until everybody is safe.
Vaccines work. President Rodrigo Duterte will participate in the high-level general debate of the 76th session of the United Nations General Assembly on September 21 to 27. This will be Duterte's second attendance to the high-level general debate of the international body. He first addressed the UNGA last year. Among topics that will be addressed are Philippine positions on global issues, namely universal access to COVID-19 vaccines, climate change, human rights, and international and regional security developments. The debate will be presided over by Abdullah Shahid of Maldives, the incoming president of the 76th UNGA. During the session last year, Duterte stressed that access to safe and effective vaccines should be made available to all and that the COVID-19 vaccine must be considered a global public good. He raised the 2016 arbitral decision against China's extensive claim in the South China Sea before the UN for the first time since he assumed office more than 4 years ago. The Duterte administration remains tough on its campaign against corruption and is open to investigations, which proves its bid for transparency in government. Communications Secretary Martin Andanar on Saturday referred to the motu proprio investigations regarding the alleged overpricing of personal protective equipment or PPE bought for medical frontliners last year. Andanar said the Senate and House investigations has proven that democracy is working and there is transparency in the government. Commission on Audit Chair Michael Aguinaldo reiterated before the Senate Blue Ribbon Committee that there was no overpricing on Pharmaly Pharmaceutical Corporation's transaction worth $8.68 billion for the Department of Health. The Department of Budget and Management had also previously denied the allegations, stressing their efforts to support transparency rather than join in on the politicking. Baguio City broke its previous record-high single-day tally or COVID-19 cases on Saturday. Meanwhile, 2 of the 9 confirmed Delta variant carrier in Misamis Occidental have reportedly recovered. More on these and other news from the provinces from Marita Muay.
Baguio City on Saturday reported 411 new COVID-19 cases, the highest single-day tally, bringing the total active cases to 3,053. The figure was the highest after the September 11 single-day record of 289 since the start of the pandemic in 2020. Mayor Benjamin Magalong said these came as test results accumulated at the molecular laboratory due to the volume of specimens being processed daily. Over 2,000 tests are now being conducted daily amid the surge in cases. Meanwhile, the Benguet General Hospital has advised the public it would be limiting its services to attend to COVID-19 cases as infections continue to surge. The BGH suspended on Monday its outpatient department consultation services for pediatrics, internal medicine, and dental. The hospital added it will also be limiting admission of surgical patients who need emergency operations. Meanwhile, the BGH will provide a free online consultation through its telemedicine portal from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. during Mondays to Fridays. In Misamis Occidental, 2 of the 9 confirmed Delta variant carriers in the province, both returning overseas Filipinos, have recovered. Governor Philip Tan said 7 others are local cases, with 4 of them are asymptomatic. The 79-bed capacity Project Haven quarantine facility in Orqueta City still has 33 vacant beds, while 36 more will be added in support of the Mayor Hilarion A. Ramiro Sr. Medical Center. Meanwhile, churches in the city will make changes in their services as the local government starts No Movement Sunday. In Zamboanga City, a total of 43 essential workers were confirmed positive for COVID-19. The essential workers are those allowed to move across borders amid the pandemic. 5 other inbound travelers and their 7 close contacts also turned out positive in rapid antigen tests Friday at the border checkpoint in Licomo. Starting August 11, the city government has imposed the random rapid antigen test for COVID-19 among travelers, including those under essential services. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Marita Muaje.
The PNR Clark Phase 2 of the North-South Commuter Rail Project will create needed jobs and spur economic recovery in Central Luzon amid the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Transportation Secretary Arthur Tugades said a transport infrastructure project like the NSCR will spur economic growth in Central Luzon, particularly the provinces of Bulacan and Pampanga. Tugade was in Clark Freeport, Pampanga to inspect the excavation of the country's first ever airport railway express service. The underground train station at the Clark International Airport is also part of the PNR Clark Phase 2 project. PNR Clark Phase 2 is a 53-kilometer rail line that will connect Malolos, Bulacan to Clark, Pampanga. It will have 6 train stations, namely Kalumpit, Apalit, San Fernando, Angeles, Clark, and Clark Airport. It is also the biggest project to be undertaken so far under the Build, Build, Build program of the Duterte administration. Up next, former rebels benefit from the government's digital literacy program. And let us take a look at the new commemorative stamps featuring our Tokyo Olympic medalists. We're back after a quick break. Stay with the PNA Newsroom.
Ito ang Fast 5. Mayroon tayong 5 minuto para tanungin ang mga eksperto tungkol sa COVID-19.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Anna Ong Lim and I'm with the DOH Technical Advisory Group.
Anong mga sintomas ng COVID-19 ang pwede i-treat sa bahay?
So napakagandang tanong. Ang mga mild symptoms, pinakakaraniwan pa rin siya sa mga nararamdaman ng mga taong nagpa-positive sa COVID-19. Kasama na dito yung lagnat, ubo, sipon, pananakit ng katawan, yung iba nagtatae. Pinaka-importante talaga is bantayan yung hirap sa paghinga kasi once sumumpong na yon, hindi na natin pwedeng sabihin mild and definitely kailangan na siguro na makita sa ospital o makita ng kanilang doktor.
Paano natin malalaman kung pwede tayo mag-home isolation?
Magandang mapag-usapan ng home isolation kasi lalo na ngayon, no, maraming mga taong nasa mga TTMFs or quarantine facilities or even sa hospital. And for as long as yung ating pamamahay ay may sariling lugar or isang silid na kung saan pwedeng mamalagi yung may sakit, and mas maganda rin sana na may sarili siyang magagamit na banyo.
Ano naman ang pwede kong gawin kung meron akong lagnat?
Ang lagnat ng COVID is not any different kumpara dun sa lagnat na nadala ng ibang sakit. Kino-consider natin na may lagnat na ang isang tao pagka ang kanyang temperatura ay 37.5 pataas. Now, typically, kung meron tayong lagnat, iniinuman lang naman natin to ng paracetamol. Karaniwan, isang tableta tuwing ika-4 hanggang ika-6 na oras.
Ano naman ang home treatment para sa sore throat?
Ang sore throat, karaniwan, ginagamot lang natin yan using supportive care. So tulad na lang ng saline gargles or pagmumog, no, ng water na may konting asin, o kaya pwede ring gumamit ng mga menthol preparations or menthol candies para lang medyo maibsan yung pananakit ng lalamunan.
Ano naman ang warning signs ng paglala ng mga sintomas?
Ang pinaka-importanting bantayan sa mga simptomas na lumalala na related to COVID-19 is really yung hirap sa paghinga. Pwede rin yun na rin na magdala nung confusion, pwede rin yung mga simptomas tulad ng sobrang panghihina kasi halos hindi na makakain, hindi makainom, no? So yung mga ganong klaseng signs, kailangan siyang masubaybayan ng healthcare professional.
Paano ko naman maiiwasang mahawaan ang mga kasama ko sa bahay?
Pinaka-importante dun sa iisipin natin pag tayo nag-isolate is dapat talaga nakabukod tayo sa ibang tao. So, dun lang tayo sa ating silid, dun na tayo kakain, hindi na tayo lalabas hanggang makatapos ng 10 araw. Now, kung tayo naman ay nasa isang lugar na shared bathroom pa rin ang ating ginagamit, sana yung surfaces ng banyo tulad nung yung doorknobs, yung faucet, yung pinaka-surface ng lababo, at saka yung pinag-upuan natin sa inidoro, pupunasan muna natin yan bago natin iwanan ng banyo para yung susunod na gagamit, hindi naman mahawaan ng ating mga secretions o yung mga tilamsik ng ating laway kung sakasakali naman ay tayo ang gumamit ng banyo.
Sino po ang pwedeng kausapin kung may karagdagang mga tanong pa ako?
Maraming resources sa ating mga communities at napakaraming health workers na handang tumulong. No? So unang-una na siguro doon yung ating mga BHERTs, no? Sila naman ay naabisuhan, o yung mga midwives or nurses sa ating community, even our local health center physicians, they're always ready to help us with our questions.
Maraming salamat, Doc Ana. May mga paalala pa po ba kayo?
Karamihan pa rin naman sa mga kababayan natin nagpa-positive for COVID ay nabibilang dun sa mild and asymptomatic category. So, mukha namang kaya, no? Most of the time, nababantayan itong ating mga kapamilya within the home. Ang importante lang, siguro, habang maaga, meron ng link to telemedicine o kaya nakausap natin yung ating mga barangay or community healthcare workers para kung sakasakalit medyo lumala yung lagay ng ating kapamilya ay nakaset up na kung anong susunod nating gagawin. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat and mag-ingat po tayo.
Bida Solusyon Plus laban sa COVID-19.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. The Department of Information and Communications Technology for Mindanao Cluster 2 offered to teach digital literacy to former rebels to help the whole of government approach in curbing communist insurgency. The DICT will implement the technology empowerment for education, employment, entrepreneurship, and economic development, or Tech for Ed, to empower communities and help end the local communist armed conflict. The project will support unserved and underserved communities where the cluster has already established Tech for Ed centers and have conducted a series of digital literacy training. Earlier, the DICT provided digital literacy training to a total of 37 rebel returnees under the 29th Infantry Matatag in Cabadbaran City. It will also conduct the same training at the Camp Northwestern Mindanao Front in Munay, Lanao del Norte. The DICT is likewise a part of digitaljobs.ph that help the freelancing community. To date, DICT 10 has trained 271 freelancers. Task Force Bangon Marawi reports that the government-led rehabilitation efforts in Marawi City is already 80% complete. Despite the challenges posed by the COVID-19 crisis and inclement weather, TFBM Chairperson and Housing Czar Secretary Eduardo Del Rosario assured all infrastructure projects will be done according to the timeline of completion. He said Marawi's master development plan will be finished by June 2022 or within the term of President Rodrigo Duterte. Del Rosario noted that the TFBM is prioritizing the rebuilding of mosques, which could help the siege-affected residents heal and recover from the distressing effect of the war. He also announced that the construction of some 2,800 permanent housing units is expected to be done by year-end. The government also sustained its livelihood programs for residents and continues to provide other related assistance. Meanwhile, the construction of permanent shelters as well as the establishment of road networks inside the most affected area are now in the final stages of completion. Malacanang congratulated Carlo Biado for winning the U.S. Open Pool Championship after beating Singapore's Aloysius Yap in Atlantic City, New Jersey on Sunday. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque recalled how President Rodrigo Duterte conferred the presidential citation to Biado for winning a gold medal in the 29th Southeast Asian Games in 2017. Roque also praised Carlo as a world-class billiards champion. Biado, a native of Nueva Ecija, has now added U.S. Open to his collection. The 37-year-old former golf caddy became just the second Filipino to win the U.S. Open, joining Efren Bata Reyes, who ruled the 1994 edition. Another Filipino, Alex Pagulayan, represented Canada when he won the prestigious World Pool Championship title in 2004. In our news overseas, the first space tourists on board the SpaceX Inspiration 4 mission have landed safely on Earth after a 3-day voyage. After completing the first ever mission in Earth's orbit with no professional astronauts on board, the 4 tourists splashed down off Florida's coast. The Crew Dragon capsule included billionaire businessman Jared Isaacman, along with Haley Arsenault, Sean Proctor, and Chris Simbrowski. Isaacman, who brought the Inspiration 4 startup from SpaceX, and his fellow crew members were launched on September 15 from Florida's Kennedy Space Center with a Falcon 9 rocket. This is SpaceX's first voyage around the Earth with an all-civilian crew. The Philippine Postal Corporation has released commemorative stamps in honor of the 4 Filipino athletes who led the country's most successful Summer Olympic stint earlier this year in Tokyo, Japan. The PhilPost unveiled the new stamps on Saturday with gold medalist Heidelin Diaz, silver medalist Carlo Paala Menesti Petesio, and bronze medalist Yumir Marshall witnessing the event at the Manila Central Post Office. Postmaster General Norman Fulgencio said the 4 athletes have brought some honor and inspiration to the country. For her part, Diaz stressed the importance of sending so-called snail mails even at the time of email and online chatting to connect with others. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. The Education Department is all set for the pilot implementation of limited face-to-face classes in the country. What are the guidelines? The Philippines is on its way to achieving population protection with the arrival of over 6 million vaccines. PCOO Secretary Martin Andanar said President Duterte is open to any investigations. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear your face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log onto the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agency. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC 13. And at this point, we only have 96 more days to go before the Christmas holidays, and that's just a little bit more than 3 months. And that's your biggest dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. We tell stories that inspire change. I am William Theo. Good day. Stay safe, everyone.